Welcome back to the channel, Coin Collectors. Today, we are taking a fascinating journey into the world of United States Washington quarters and looking at 5 of the most valuable and collectible examples ever produced. Although a Washington quarter normally has a face value of just 25 cents, certain dates, mint marks, varieties, and exceptionally high grades can make these coins worth thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars at auction. In fact, certified auction records show some Washington quarters selling for more than $100,000. So before you spend or dismiss an old quarter, take a close look at the date, mint mark, condition, and overall appearance. One small detail can sometimes make an enormous difference, so let's get started. First up, coin number 1, the 1968 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark, especially a coin in fine condition. At first glance, this quarter may look like an ordinary 25-cent coin, but collectors know that the date, mint of origin, condition, and any unusual striking characteristics can make a major difference in value. One important fact is that a 1968 quarter with no mint mark is not automatically an error. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not place a mint mark on its circulating quarters during this period. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, with the famous design created by sculptor John Flanagan. By 1968, the United States had already changed the quarter from the earlier 90% silver composition to copper nickel clad. The 1968 Philadelphia issue was produced in a large quantity, with about 220.7 million examples struck. That means an ordinary circulated 1968 no mint mark quarter is generally not considered a major rarity simply because it lacks a mint mark. The absence of the mint mark identifies Philadelphia production rather than a minting mistake. The 1968 Washington quarter has a face value of 25 cents and is made from a copper nickel-clad composition rather than silver. It measures approximately 24.3 millimeters across and weighs about 5.67 grams. On the obverse, you can see George Washington facing left, along with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1968. On the reverse is the American eagle surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and quarter dollar. A particularly important feature for this date is the mint mark location. In 1968, the mint mark had been moved to the obverse, to the right of Washington's hair ribbon, but a Philadelphia coin carries no mint mark there. Now comes the most important question. Is a 1968 quarter with no mint mark rare? In fine condition, the normal Philadelphia issue is generally not a scarce coin because more than 220 million were produced. So collectors should be careful when they see online claims suggesting that every 1968 no mint mark quarter is worth thousands of dollars. The real opportunities are usually found in exceptional condition, certified high grades, or genuine mint errors and unusual varieties. For example, documented auction records include 1968 quarters with dramatic errors such as missing clad layers, broad strikes, clips, and major off-center strikes selling for substantially more than ordinary examples. For a normal circulated 1968 Philadelphia Washington quarter in fine condition, the value is generally close to its face value rather than hundreds or thousands of dollars. Current market references show that circulated examples are relatively inexpensive, while certified mint state coins can become considerably more valuable as the grade rises. PCGS's current guide lists values increasing sharply at the highest grades, with a 1968 example reaching about $1,000 at MS67 and $2,600 at MS68 in its displayed price guide. A recent Heritage Auctions record also shows a 1968 MS68 PCGS example selling for $1,647 in June 2026. These prices demonstrate an important point. The big money examples are exceptional high-grade or error coins, not ordinary fine condition pieces. If you have a 1968 Washington quarter without a mint mark, do not throw it away and do not assume it is automatically worth a fortune. First, check the date carefully and inspect the area near Washington's hair ribbon for the mint mark. Then examine the coin under good lighting for unusual features such as missing clad material, off-center striking, broad strikes, clips, double details, or other genuine minting abnormalities. Avoid cleaning the coin because polishing or chemical cleaning can reduce collector appeal. If you believe your coin has an unusual error or is in exceptionally high condition, professional authentication and grading may be worthwhile. Remember that condition is extremely important, and auction prices can vary greatly depending on the exact grade and variety. So, is your 1968 Washington quarter with no mint mark a hidden fortune? The answer depends on what you actually have. A normal fine condition Philadelphia quarter is generally common and usually worth only a modest amount above, or around, face value. However, the same date becomes much more interesting when you discover an extraordinary mint error or an exceptionally preserved, professionally graded specimen. High-grade examples have brought four-figure prices at auction, proving that condition and rarity can completely transform an ordinary-looking quarter. So check your 1968 quarters carefully, compare the details, and remember that the most valuable coin may be the one that looks ordinary at first, but has an unusual story hiding in its details. Next coin, the United States 1983 Washington quarter with the P mint mark, especially an example in circulated condition. This quarter has attracted attention from collectors because certain high-grade examples and genuine mint errors can bring surprisingly strong prices at auction. But there is an important difference between an ordinary circulated 1983 P quarter and an exceptional collectible specimen. So, if you have one of these coins in your collection, stay with us because we are going to explore its history, unique features, rarity, collector demand, market value, and the details you should check before deciding what your coin might be worth. The 1983 P Washington quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and the P Mint mark identifies its Philadelphia origin. The United States Mint produced approximately 673,535,000 1983 P Washington quarters, making the date common in terms of original production numbers. The coin belongs to the modern copper nickel-clad era of Washington quarters rather than the earlier 90% silver series. Interestingly, 1983 is considered an important collecting year because regular uncirculated mint sets were not produced by the U.S. Mint that year, which helped create additional collector interest in finding attractive examples from circulation. The 1983 P Washington quarter carries a face value of 25 cents and has a copper nickel-clad composition over a copper center. It measures about 24.3 millimeters in diameter, weighs approximately 5.67 grams, and has a reeded edge. On the obverse, you will see George Washington facing left with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1983. The small P mint mark appears on the obverse near Washington's hair ribbon. The reverse features the American eagle, with United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar surrounding the design. Collectors should also pay attention to the strike quality, because many 1983 P quarters show weakness in some lettering and details. Now, here is where the story becomes interesting. An ordinary circulated 1983 P quarter is not considered extremely rare, because hundreds of millions were struck. However, finding a truly exceptional specimen is a completely different story. Collectors strongly pursue coins with sharp strikes, attractive surfaces, high grades, and legitimate mint errors. There is also a recognized 1983 P die variety, known as the Spitting Eagle, which can add collector interest. The major auction records show just how dramatically value can change when condition and rarity come together. PCGS records an auction price of about $15,863 for a 1983 P quarter graded MS65 in a 2014 Heritage Auctions sale. For a normal circulated 1983 P Washington quarter, expectations should remain realistic. NGC's July 2026 price guide lists circulated examples from approximately 30 cents to 85 cents, depending on grade. That means a typical circulated coin is not automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The major values belong to unusually high-grade coins and significant errors. For example, PCGS records a 1983 PMS 67 example selling for $1,410 at Heritage Auctions in 2014, while another NGC MS 67 example sold for $240 at Stack's Bowers in 2025. These differences show why certification, grade, eye appeal, and the exact coin variety can have a major effect on auction results. If you have a 1983 P quarter, start by carefully checking the mint mark and date. Examine Washington's portrait, the lettering, the rim, and the reverse eagle for unusual characteristics. Look for major mint errors such as an off-center strike, clipped planchet, missing clad layer, or other dramatic manufacturing abnormalities. Also inspect the coin for the possible spitting eagle variety. Do not clean or polish the coin, because cleaning can damage its surfaces and reduce collector appeal. If your quarter appears unusually sharp, attractive, or has a genuine error, professional authentication and grading from a respected grading service can help establish its condition and marketability. Auction records prove that exceptional 1983p quarters can bring impressive prices, but ordinary circulated examples should not be confused with those rare high-grade specimens. So, could your 1983p Washington quarter be valuable? The answer is yes, but the details matter. A normal circulated example is generally worth only a small amount above, or sometimes close to, its 25-cent face value. However, an exceptionally preserved coin, a recognized variety, or a dramatic genuine mint error can be much more desirable to collectors and can bring significantly higher prices at auction. The recorded $15,863 auction result demonstrates the extraordinary potential of an exceptional 1983p quarter, while current guides show that ordinary circulated pieces remain inexpensive. So check your coin carefully, protect it from cleaning and damage, and never judge a collectible coin by its face value alone. Next coin, the United States 1971D Washington quarter dollar. A coin carrying the small D mint mark for the Denver Mint. If you have found one of these quarters in circulated condition, you may be wondering whether it is actually rare and whether it could be worth big money. The exciting truth is that while most circulated 1971D quarters are common and usually worth close to face value, exceptional examples, high-grade coins, and genuine mint errors can attract much stronger collector interest. So before spending or selling your 1971D quarter, take a few moments to learn what makes this coin interesting. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, and the familiar design by sculptor John Flanagan continued on the quarter for decades. By 1971, the United States was producing quarters in copper-nickel clad composition rather than the earlier 90% silver composition used before 1965. In 1971, the Denver Mint produced approximately 258,634,428 Washington quarters, making the 1971D a relatively high mintage issue. Because so many were produced, an ordinary circulated example is not considered a major rarity simply because it has a D mint mark. The 1971D Washington quarter has a face value of 25 cents and features George Washington on the obverse. The inscriptions include Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1971. The small D mint mark appears on the obverse near Washington's hair ribbon and identifies the Denver Mint. On the reverse, you will see the American eagle with its wings spread, surrounded by United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. The coin has a reeded edge, measures about 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and weighs approximately 5.67 grams. Its copper-nickel clad composition is typical of U.S. quarters of this era. Here is where collectors need to be careful. A circulated 1971D quarter is generally not rare because of its large production number. Current NGC information places circulated examples roughly in the 30 cents to 85 cents range, depending on grade and market conditions. However, the story changes dramatically when you find an unusually well-preserved coin or a genuine mint error. High-grade 1971D quarters are much harder to locate because most examples spent years in circulation and develop scratches, wear, and contact marks. NGC lists substantially higher values for top certified grades, with an MS68 example shown at about $1,100 in its price guide. So, how much could your 1971D Washington quarter actually be worth? For a normal circulated coin, the realistic value is usually around face value, with current references placing circulated examples at roughly 30 cents to 85 cents. Other market guides show similar low values for circulated pieces. The major price increases occur in higher grades. For example, NGC's guide lists approximately $65 at MS67 and $1,100 at MS68, showing just how important condition can be. Auction and market records also demonstrate that exceptional specimens can bring much more than ordinary circulated coins. One market source reports a very high-grade 1971D example selling for thousands of dollars, but such results should never be used as the expected value of an ordinary circulated quarter. If you own a 1971D Washington quarter, start by checking the date and confirming that the mint mark is a genuine D. Examine Washington's portrait, the lettering, the eagle, and the coin's edge under good lighting. Look carefully for unusual minting characteristics such as strong off-center strikes, clips, die breaks, double details, or other legitimate errors. Do not clean or polish the coin, because cleaning can seriously reduce its collector appeal. If the coin appears unusually sharp despite being described as circulated, consider having it evaluated by a professional grading service. Remember that a coin's value depends on its exact condition, authenticity, variety, and current collector demand, not simply on its age. In conclusion, the 1971D Washington quarter is an interesting coin to check, but an ordinary circulated example is not a guaranteed jackpot. With more than 258 million struck at Denver, most circulated pieces remain common and generally trade close to their 25-cent face value. However, exceptional condition and genuine mint errors can transform an ordinary-looking quarter into a much more desirable collectible, with top certified examples reaching impressive prices. So, before you spend that 1971D quarter, give it a careful inspection. You may not have a fortune, but you could discover an unusually valuable example hiding in your collection. Next, coin the United States 1987 Washington quarter dollar with the P mint mark, particularly an example in fine condition. This coin has an interesting place in modern American coin collecting, and while most circulated 1987 P quarters are not extremely rare, certain high-grade examples and genuine mint errors can attract much stronger collector interest. So, could your 1987 P Washington quarter be worth more than its 25-cent face value? Stay with us as we explore its history, design, rarity, market value, and the features collectors should check carefully. The 1987 Washington quarter was produced during an important period in the history of the U.S. quarter. By this time, the traditional silver composition had long been replaced by copper-nickel clad metal for regular circulation quarters. The 1987 P quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and the P mint mark appears on the obverse, near Washington's hair ribbon. Philadelphia produced approximately 582,499,481 Washington quarters in 1987, making this a large mintage rather than a scarce issue. The coin was designed by John Flanagan and continued the classic Washington quarter design that collectors had known for decades. The 1987 P Washington quarter has a diameter of approximately 24.3 millimeters and weighs about 5.67 grams. Its composition is a copper-nickel outer layer over a pure copper center. On the obverse, the coin features the portrait of George Washington facing left, with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1987. The small P mint mark beside Washington's hair ribbon identifies the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse, you will find the American eagle with its wings extended, surrounded by United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. The edge is reeded, another characteristic feature of the Washington quarter series. Now let's talk about rarity. A normal 1987 P Washington quarter in fine condition is not considered a major rarity, mainly because the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 582 million examples. However, that does not mean every 1987 P quarter is worthless. Collectors become much more interested when they encounter unusually well-preserved coins, strong strikes, attractive surfaces, or authentic mint errors. The biggest prices generally come from coins that survive in exceptional mint state grades. PCGS records an auction result of $690 for an MS-67 1987 P Washington quarter, showing how dramatically condition can affect the value of a coin that is otherwise common in circulation. For a typical 1987 P Washington quarter in fine condition, you should not expect a huge auction price. In most cases, circulated examples trade around face value or only a modest premium, depending on condition and buyer interest. Market guides show that the real premium begins with higher grade examples. One published value guide lists approximately $2 for MS63, $3 for MS64, $10 for MS65, and around $50 for MS66, while PCGS documents a much stronger $690 auction result for an MS67 example. These figures demonstrate why collectors carefully separate an ordinary fine condition coin from a rare, high-grade specimen. The exact selling price can change depending on certification, eye appeal, auction competition, and whether the coin has a recognized error or variety. If you have a 1987 P Washington quarter, start by confirming the date and the P mint mark. Next, examine both sides under strong lighting and magnification. Look for unusual striking characteristics such as an off-center strike, clipped planchet, broad strike, missing clad material, dramatic doubling, or other signs that may indicate a genuine mint error. Pay special attention to the coin surfaces and overall preservation because scratches, stains, heavy wear, and cleaning can greatly reduce collector appeal. Never clean a potentially valuable coin, because cleaning can damage its original surface and hurt its numismatic value. If your 1987 P quarter appears exceptionally sharp or contains a possible mint error, consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. So, is the 1987 P Washington quarter a rare coin worth big money? The honest answer is that a normal fine condition example is generally not a high-dollar rarity because of its large mintage. But the story changes when you find an exceptional high-grade coin or a genuine mint error. With a documented auction record of $690 for an MS67 example, this quarter proves that condition can make a major difference. So before spending your 1987 P quarter, take a close look at the date, mint mark, surfaces, strike, and overall condition. You might not have a fortune, but you could have an interesting collectible worth investigating. Last and final coin, the United States 1985 Washington quarter dollar with the P mint mark, specifically an example in fine condition. This coin has a face value of just 25 cents, but collectors often wonder whether an older Washington quarter could be worth much more than its face value. The 1985 P quarter is especially interesting because Philadelphia struck a huge number of these coins, yet exceptionally high-grade examples can be surprisingly difficult to find. So, before you spend or sell your 1985 P quarter, let's examine its history, design, rarity, condition, market value, and what could make one example much more valuable than another. PCGS records the 1985 P mintage at 775,818,962 coins. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, and the classic design by John Flanagan continued for decades. By 1985, the quarter was part of the copper-nickel-clad era that began in 1965. The 1985 P issue was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and the P mint mark identifies that origin. This quarter contains a copper-nickel outer layer over a copper center, weighs approximately 5.67 grams, and measures about 24.3 millimeters in diameter. The large Philadelphia production of more than 775 million pieces means that an ordinary circulated 1985 P quarter is not considered rare simply because of its age. When examining a 1985 P Washington quarter, start with the obverse. You will see the familiar portrait of George Washington facing left with Liberty above him, In God We Trust beside the portrait, and the date 1985 below. The small P mint mark appears on the obverse, near Washington's hair ribbon. On the reverse, the coin displays the large American eagle with outstretched wings, surrounded by United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. The edge is reeded, and the standard composition is 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper center. These details are important because collectors use them to confirm the correct date, mint, type, and possible varieties or errors. Now let's discuss the most important part, rarity. A normal 1985 P quarter in fine condition is not a major rarity because hundreds of millions were produced. However, the story changes dramatically when we move into extremely high grades. PCGS describes the 1985 P as common overall but says that MS66 and higher examples are scarce, with only a small number known in MS67. PCGS specifically lists the coin as much more challenging in MS67 than its enormous mintage might suggest. This is a great example of why coin collectors do not judge rarity only by the original number produced. The number of surviving coins in exceptional condition is also extremely important. So, how much could a 1985p Washington quarter be worth today? For a normal circulated example in fine condition, the value is generally modest and usually close to face value rather than hundreds or thousands of dollars. Recent market listings for ordinary 1985p examples have shown prices around the $1 to $2 range, depending on condition and seller. But high-grade coins tell a completely different story. PCGS records an MS66 example selling for $77, while the official PCGS auction record for an MS67 1985p quarter is $1,528, achieved at Goldberg Auctioneers on June 5, 2017. More recent marketplace sales have also shown MS67 examples selling for well over $100, demonstrating the strong premium collectors can pay for top-quality specimens. If you have a 1985p quarter in fine condition, examine it carefully before deciding what to do with it. Look closely at Washington's portrait, the date, the P mint mark, the lettering, and the eagle on the reverse. Check for unusual mint-made characteristics such as strong doubling, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, missing clad layers, or other genuine errors. Most importantly, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can leave scratches and unnatural surfaces that reduce collector appeal. If you believe your quarter is actually in much better condition than fine, or if you discover a potentially valuable error, consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. Remember that an ordinary fine condition 1985p quarter should not be valued like a rare MS67 specimen. In conclusion, the 1985p Washington quarter is a fascinating example of how condition can completely change the value of a coin. With a mintage of more than 775 million, the ordinary circulated 1985p quarter is not rare, and a fine condition example generally does not bring a huge premium. But exceptionally preserved coins can be genuinely scarce, and the auction record of $1,528 for an MS67 example proves that top-grade specimens can attract serious collector interest. So, if you find a 1985p Washington quarter in your collection, don't immediately assume it is worthless. Check the condition, inspect every detail, and look for genuine mint errors or exceptional preservation. The difference between an ordinary pocket change quarter and a valuable collector coin can sometimes be hidden in the smallest details. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more rare coin discoveries and valuable US coin videos. See you in the next video. Moneybag.